High yield topics, the most important questions that can be asked in the upcoming exam, the university exam. Okay, the most expected topics will be discussed in detail. Okay, in this particular revision series, it is beneficial for all the university first year students who are going to appear for the biochemistry exam in the upcoming August, right? Apart from that, it is also beneficial to all the FMG and NEET PG students, right? So remember, guys, yes, you already know the core features of this particular app, right? So in this particular app, the Auricle app, you have live classes, right? The live classes which we are taking right now. Okay, there are recorded classes which are there on the app, right? Apart from that, the notes which are curated in a very like the Q&A manner, the question and answer format. Apart from that, after each topic, you will find MCQs related to that particular topic, right? All the PYQs, the past year questions and past year topics are repeated over there, right? Apart from that, guys, this is a basic plan that you can see on the screen, a 3-month plan, 6-month plan, and a 12-month plan. In addition to the amount which is given on the screen, you can avail some extra discount by using my code, that is Dr. Abhijeet 20. Now, without wasting much more time, let us just start with the lipids part 2. Lipids part 2. And in this, the very first question that I will be discussing with you people, it is the classification of the fatty acids. It is the classification of the fatty acids. Let me just try to open this YouTube. Yeah. Let me see if anyone is there attending the session. Yeah. Okay. Noted. Now, before starting with this, guys, let us discuss first. Before coming on to this flowchart, let us first discuss in our own manner about the fatty acids, right? About the fatty acids. Then we will come to the notes, what is given, right? Fatty acids. You all can avail to the notes, right? By just downloading the app from the Play Store. Yeah, the notes are all there. Now, when we say fatty acids, guys, you already know the general formula for fatty acids. First, you should know what is the general formula for fatty acids. General formula for fatty acids. What is the general formula for fatty acids? It is R. Yes, R COOH. Now, R is basically the long hydrocarbon chain. The long hydrocarbon chain. Now, when I say hydrocarbon, it means hydrogen and carbon. Hydrogen and carbon. Now, long hydrocarbon chain, it is a aliphatic. Aliphatic means straight, right? It is a straight, long hydrocarbon chain. Aliphatic means straight, long hydrocarbon chain. For example, if I just try to write like this, CH3, CH2, CH2, then COOH. So you can see the carbon and hydrogen, it can vary. The number of carbons can vary, the number of hydrogen will vary accordingly. So this R is nothing but the long carbohydrate hydrocarbon chain, right? And that is the general formula for fatty acids. Now coming on to the classification of the fatty acids. Very, very important. That is the classification. First, we'll try to discuss our own classification. Then I will come to the flowchart which is given in your notes, right? So let us first discuss about the classification of fatty acids. Fatty acids. Classification of fatty acids. Now, the very first classification over here will be based on, okay, it will be based on the number of carbon. Okay, when I say the number of carbon, it means I'm talking about this R group. Okay, I'm talking about this R group. Carbon in the R, that is the hydrocarbon chain. The hydrocarbon chain. So it can be classified, Right. Now, now it can be classified, guys. Yes, just try to write like this. The very first one over here, we have short chain fatty acid. Short chain fatty acid. Now, when I say short chain fatty acid, it is SCFA, right? And it is from carbon 2 to carbon 6. Carbon 2 to carbon 6, CH3, CH2, COOH. You can see the number of carbon, it is 2 over here, apart from the acidic group. That is from 2 to 6. We can have 3 carbons also, CH2, CH2, then COOH. So this is the short chain fatty acid. Coming on to the next one, that is the medium chain fatty acid. Medium chain fatty acid. Fatty acid, right? MCFA. It is from carbon 8 to carbon 14. From carbon 8 to carbon 14. Right? Now, we have the third one in this category. It is the long chain fatty acid. Long chain fatty acid, right? LCFA, and it is from, or it is more than 16 carbon, guys. It is more than 16 carbon, right? More than 16 carbon. In this category, we have one more that is called as very long chain fatty acid. Very long chain fatty acid. And remember, over here in this category, we have carbon more than 20 or more than 22. More than 20 or more than 22, right? So that was the first classification that we have discussed based on the number of carbon in the hydrocarbon chain: short chain fatty acid, medium chain fatty acid, and long chain fatty acids. Now coming on to the second category, guys. The second category over here in the fatty acids, it is based on the presence of double bond in hydrocarbon chain. Double bond, we'll draw the structures also, no need to worry. Just you first have to mention the classification. Based on the presence of double bond in the hydrocarbon chain. So they are divided into, the very first one, guys, you should know, saturated fatty acids. Saturated fatty acids, right? The saturated fatty acids contain no double bond. Double bond is absent. No double bond. The double bond is absent, right? Double bond is absent. Now, coming on to the second category over here. Yes, that is unsaturated fatty acids. Unsaturated fatty acids. Now, yes. So there is presence of double bond and triple bond, right? So this is again classified into, guys, mono unsaturated means containing one double bond. Mono unsaturated fatty acids. And we have polyunsaturated fatty acids. Polyunsaturated fatty acids. So it is also known as PUFA, that is polyunsaturated fatty acids, and monounsaturated fatty acids. Now, when I say monounsaturated, guys, you should remember that these contain only one double bond, right? They contain only one double bond, right? Polyunsaturated fatty acids will contain more than one double bond. More than one double bond. Right? So that is about this. So let us just try to discuss the flow chart that is given over here. Now they have just given saturated and unsaturated wala case, right? Unsaturated, guys, you already know we have monounsaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids. So let us just try to discuss this in detail also. So based on the number of carbon chain we have discussed, now based on the presence of double bond, saturated and unsaturated. So let us just first try to discuss the saturated fatty acids in detail. Let us first try to discuss the saturated fatty acids in detail, and according to the flowchart that is given in your notes, that is we are going to discuss about the saturated fatty acids in detail. So let us just try to, yeah, try to make a flowchart over here only. Yes, so we have, yeah, the sources. So we are discussing saturated fatty acids. Saturated fatty acids, right? Saturated fatty acids. So we have sources. Then we have which saturated fatty acids are there? Saturated fatty acids. You already know saturated fatty acids basically they contain no double bond, right? Only single bonds are there. Okay. We have the number of carbon atoms. Just try to draw this table in the exam. The examiner will be very much impressed by this. The number of carbon atoms, right? So let us just try to complete this table now. Yes. The very first one, guys, it is the acetic acid. The acetic acid, the common acetic acid. Now in chomin, right, or spaghetti, you might have used this acetic acid, and that is nothing but the vinegar. The vinegar, right? Now, this acetic acid basically contains two carbon atoms. It contains two carbon atoms, and you already know it is CH3COOH. Okay, CH3COOH, two carbon atom, one of the carboxyl group and this, right? Coming on to the next one, that is, yes, the propionic acid, butyric acid, and valeric acid. Very, very important, valeric acid. The number of carbon atoms again vary. It is 3 in propionic acid, 4 in butyric acid, and 5 in valeric acid, right? So that is again, guys, you can just mention over here, it is CH3, CH2, COOH, right? We have CH3, CH2, CH2, COOH, 4 carbons. Then we have CH3, CH2, 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 COOH. So this is the basic formula, right? Right. So and one more you can also mention, we have capric acid. We have capric acid. So capric acid is again the 6 carbon, right? So it is CH3 and CH2 how many times? Yes, you already know it is 4 times, and then COH. So in short, I can also write CH2 how many times? 4 times. So yes, guys, these are, remember, these all are butter at room temperature, right? These are all butter, that is the liquid at room temperature. Liquid at room temperature. So these are nothing, guys. These are nothing but the short chain fatty acids. These are again short chain fatty acids. Short chain fatty acids. Again, going by the definition, guys, it is from C2 to C6, carbon 2 to carbon 6, right? So this is about the saturated fatty acids, right? The saturated fatty acids, guys, right? You can all see the saturated fatty acids over here, right? So yes, this is about the saturated fatty acids that we have already discussed over here, right? Now, again, in the, it is also given fats, butters. Yeah, that is about the fatty acids over here. Now coming on to the, yes, okay. If we know the short chain fatty acids, they are the saturated ones with single bonds. We already know that there is something called as medium chain, which is from C8 to C14. Again, two are very important in this case. Just 2 points that are very, very important in this case. Yes, you can just mention it over here. We have lauric acid and myristic acid. Myristic acid. Remember, it is carbon 12. How many carbons? 12 carbons, and over here 14 carbons, right? From C8 to C14, right? So these are nothing. These are nothing but the medium chain fatty acids. These are medium chain fatty acids, right? These are medium chain fatty acids, right? So these medium chain fatty acids, they are also liquid at room temperature. They are liquid at room temperature. And remember, the richest source, it has been a question in the YY exam. And yeah, in the previous NEET PG also, they have been asked the richest source of these medium chain fatty acids. Basically, they are coconut milk, coconut milk or oil, right? And some amount, it is also found in butter. Some amount, it is also found in butter. Right? So that is about the medium wala chain. Now, again, a little bit about the long. So this was about the medium chain fatty acids. Medium chain fatty acids. Right? And one more that I have to discuss over here, that is the long chain fatty acids. Long chain fatty acids. Now, when I say long chain fatty acid, it starts from C16, right? It starts from carbon 16. So we have palmitic acid. Palmitic acid, it is how many carbons? 16 carbons. 16 carbons, right? We have stearic acid, very, very important. Stearic acid, you should know the number of carbons present over here, that is C18. And again, the question has been asked in the exam, what is the richest source, guys? What is the richest source? Remember, it is animal fat. It is animal fat, right? It is animal fat. And remember, it is solid at room temperature. It is solid at room temperature. It is solid at room temperature. Now, remember that, yes, if we talk about palmitic acid, two questions have been asked in the exam. Two one-liners, two viva questions that you have to remember, that it is the most abundant fatty acid synthesized in human body. So again, a 1 mark practical exam question, that what is the most abundant fatty acid synthesized in human body? Right? It is palmitic acid. Right? And again, one more important question that has been asked, it is the most abundant fatty acid. It is the most abundant fatty acid, okay, that undergo oxidation in humans. That undergo oxidation in humans. It is the most abundant fatty acid that undergoes oxidation in humans. Now, that was about medium and long chain. The short chain I have already discussed with respect to saturated one. So we have done short chain fatty acids along with, the saturated fatty acids. Medium chain done, long chain done. Now coming on to the unsaturated fatty acids. Now coming on to the unsaturated fatty acids. Right? Now coming on to the unsaturated fatty acids. Right? So let us start the unsaturated fatty acids. Now, guys, remember the unsaturated fatty acids, it is basically divided into two categories. Yes. You already know it is divided into two categories. We have mono unsaturated fatty acids. Mono unsaturated fatty acids. And we have, yes, polyunsaturated fatty acids. Let me use some other pen. Yeah. Polyunsaturated fatty acids. MUFA and PUFA. Very, very important. Now coming on to monounsaturated fatty acids. Yes, we have monounsaturated fatty acids. Now this is MUFA. Now again, the examples are very, very important, guys. We have palmitoleic acid. Palmitoleic acid, right? It is carbon 16. We have oleic acid, carbon 18, and we have elydic acid. It is carbon 18, right? We have palmitoleic acid, yes, the oleic acid and the elydic acid, right? So remember, guys, one question that they always ask in exam, that is regarding the richest source of monounsaturated fatty acids. Monounsaturated fatty acids. Remember, guys, it is mustard oil. Very, very important. 1 mark bio question also. Mustard oil. And it is again the other one, that is the rapeseed oil. The rapeseed oil, right? We have the mustard oil and the rapeseed oil, right? Now coming on to the next one, guys, that is, yes, the polyunsaturated fatty acid. The polyunsaturated fatty acid. Now, when I say polyunsaturated, you already know it is more than one double bond. More than one double bond. Monounsaturated means one double bond. One double bond. Now, guys, this polyunsaturated fatty acid is very, very, very important. I'm just trying to make a list over here. We have some short questions also in detail, but over here, when you know, whenever there is a 10-mark question on a know of fatty acids, so you have to write everything completely, right? The first the flow chart, then you have to write all the, you have to define everything, then you have to tell the examples, and then you have to tell the richest source also. Now, the polyunsaturated fatty acids, the very first one, guys, remember we have linoleic acid. Linoleic acid. Then we have alpha linoleic acid. Sorry, alpha linolenic acid. Right? Then we have gamma linolenic acid. Then we have arachidonic acid. Then we have timnodonic acid. This is also called as icosa pentanoic acid. Pentanoic acid. Then we have cervonic acid. Cervonic acid. It is also called as docosa. Very, very important. The last two one. Docosa hexaenoic acid. Hexaenoic acid, that is DHA, right? That is DHA. Now, what is the difference between linoleic, linolenic, arachidonic, timnodenic, cervonic acid? So let us just try to first see the chemical structure, guys, how they differentiate. You already know. Yeah, the linoleic acid, it is 18 carbons, guys. How many carbons? 18 carbons. And remember, there are two double bonds. Obviously, then it is only classified as poly. Okay, we have two double bonds in the structure. Now, when I say alpha linolenic, it is 18 carbons, guys, and we have three double bonds, right? Gamma linolenic acid, we have 18 carbons, right? And three double bonds, that two are different positions, right? So that's why the name. Yes. The electronic acid, we have 20 carbon atoms, the 20 carbon atoms and four double bonds, right? The timnotenic acid, that is 20 carbon atoms, right? And five double bonds, and sulfonic acid or docosahexaenoic acid, basically it contains 22 carbon and six double bonds. Again, this is about the structure, the examples of polyunsaturated, and the definition. Now, what is the commonest source, guys, that is being asked in the exam? That you have to remember, guys, over here, that the source. Okay, if we talk about the source, guys, the linoleic acid, the source is, remember, it is safflower oil. Very, very important. Again, the 1 mark practical question. The safflower oil. Alpha linoleic acid, it is, yes, flaxseed oil. The flaxseed oil, right? Yes. The gamma linolenic acid, it is oil of evening primrose. And borage oil, right? So GLA, when we say gamma linolenic acid, the GLA, basically this also helps in brain development. Very, very important. It also helps in brain development, guys. This also helps in the brain development. Again, important. Now, arachidonic acid, it is animal fat. Timnotenic acid and sulfonic acid, remember, it is fish oil, or it can also be found into breast milk. Timnotenic acid, fish oil, or breast milk. Again, DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, it helps in the brain development. It also helps in brain development. Now, that is again the broad classification that you have to remember. Apart from that, guys, I wanted to discuss something very important over here. Okay, let me just write it down in the flow chart as well. You already know when we say polyunsaturated fatty acids. Now, the richest source of PUFA, we have already discussed this polyunsaturated fatty acids in detail. So, right now, I just wanted to add one more slide. Let us write it over here. Right, not a problem. So we are discussing the polyunsaturated fatty acids. Now, if we ask you the richest source, overall, the richest source of PUFA, it is, again, try to write it in the same order, guys. It is safflower oil. Then we have sunflower oil. And the least, it is the coconut oil, the least source, right? It is the coconut oil. Now, the PUFA, remember, it consists of essential fatty acids, or it also consists of semi-essential fatty acids. Now, essential fatty acids, it is linoleic acid. And remember, the linoleic acid, it is the most essential fatty acid. Right? Linoleic acid basically contains the 3 double bond, right? Again, we have one more essential fatty acid, that is the alpha linolenic acid. Linolenic acid, right? So it is the 2 double bond, sorry, 2 double, right? Semi-essential fatty acids, guys, you already know we have arachidonic acid. And yes, we have gamma linolenic acid. Linolenic acid, right? So these can be synthesized, no, or derived from the linoleic acid, right? So that is something you have to remember. So whenever a question comes, guys, whenever a question comes, what is the classification of fatty acids? First, you're going to tell it can be based on different things. First classification that I have done, it is based on the number of the carbon atoms. Okay, it is based on the number of the carbon atoms, or it can also be based on the presence of double bond. So in the flow chart, it is given on the basis of the double bond. We have saturated one and unsaturated one. Saturated, we have already discussed in detail, right? Acetic acid, propionic, butyric, valeric. These are butter and vinegar, right? The structure also we have done, and they are also the short chain fatty acids. Coming on to the unsaturated one, the monounsaturated fatty acids, guys. You already know the monounsaturated fatty acids we have discussed. Yes, these are these only, right? The monounsaturated fatty acids. Yeah, we have palmitoleic acid, oleic acid, elatic acid, right? They contain only one double bond. Apart from that, we have already discussed the polyunsaturated fatty acid, linoleic, alpha linolenic, gamma linolenic, arachidonic, timnodenic, or sulfonic acid. And according to the number of carbon atoms, their structure and most common source, right? From where we can derive this, right? So that is already done. So that is something which is given in over here also, right? Icosa pentanoic acid, right? Docosa, we have already discussed. Alpha linolic acid, all this, the examples we have already discussed over there, right? So let us just now come on to the next question. That is the essential fatty acids. Now, guys, you already know when I say essential fatty acids, I was already discussing about this, but just try to remember these fatty acids cannot be synthesized by the body. Obviously, why they are essential, guys? If they are present in the body, then why we call it as essential? Obviously, this is something which we don't have. That is something very essential for us, right? So similarly, the fatty acids which are not present in our body, they cannot be synthesized by our own body. That is something termed as essential. And through diet, guys, we are taking it in our body. That's why they are essential fatty acids. And we have already known these are polyunsaturated fatty acids. Okay, linoleic and linolenic acid. We have already discussed over here, right? So we have already discussed over here. Yes, you can see the essential fatty acids. I've already told you linoleic and alpha linolenic acid, right? So remember, yes. Arachidonic acid, it is semi-essential. It becomes essential if linoleic acid is not provided in the right and sufficient amounts, right? Right. So why, guys, this is important? Because linoleic and linolenic acids are essential since humans lack the enzymes that can introduce double bonds beyond carbons 9 to 10. Obviously, these are having 18 carbons, right? Linoleic and linolenic acid, you already know that linoleic basically contains 18 carbons, right? And two double bonds, and linolenic basically contains 18 carbon and 3 double bonds, right? So that is why beyond 9 to 10 carbons, now this is 18 carbon, the human does not have that enzyme not to introduce these double bonds into these carbon. That's why they're not synthesized and they're very much essential. Now, what are the functions of the essential fatty acids? Basically, they are required for the membrane structure, right? The membrane structure, function, transport of cholesterol, formation of lipoproteins. Now, when I say lipoproteins, guys, you already know it is lipids plus proteins. It is lipids plus proteins, and it also helps in the prevention of fatty liver. Okay. Eicosanoids, they are also essential for no forming of or synthesis of one more important compound, that is eicosanoids. Deficiency of EFA, very, very important 1 mark Viva question. Yes, it can result in uh, Phrynoderma or taut skin. You can see the skin kind of this thing that is present on the taut, and similarly the same skin it is of the human also. Okay. Now there are horny eruptions, guys. They are very like scaly eruptions. You can just see over here. That is something which can be which can lead by the deficiency of these essential fatty acids. Now, coming on to the next question, what is omega-3 fatty acid? Now, what is omega-3 fatty acid? Now, guys, based on the omega classification, okay, let us first discuss this. Now, guys, you already know based on omega classification, omega classification, we have we have three types, guys. Omega-3 fatty acid, omega-6 fatty acid, and omega-9 fatty acid. Omega-9 fatty acid. Now, when I say omega-3 fatty acid, guys, what are the examples of this? This is very, very important. It is alpha. No. We have alpha linolenic acid, sorry, timnodenic acid, and cervonic acid. Cervonic acid, it is docosahexaenoic acid, right? Cervonic acid. Now, this omega-3 fatty acid, it is very, very, very important, guys. Now, this is something, these three are very, very important, this omega-3 fatty acids. Now, what is the importance, guys, in our body? They basically help in decreasing the inflammation process. It decreases inflammation. It decreases inflammation. It decreases the cardiovascular risk. All the cardiac diseases, no, it decreases the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Cardiovascular risk. The heart and the associated vessels. Vascular means blood vessels, the arteries related to the heart, right? Apart from that, it also decreases risk of ADHD. Very, very, very important. Now, when I say ADHD, guys, attention deficit, okay, hyperactive disorder. You will discuss this in psychiatry, no, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Hyperactive disorder. It decreases the risk of rheumatoid arthritis, जिसको गठिया बोलते हैं. This is something called as the rheumatoid arthritis, the joint pains which you can see, right? The rheumatoid arthritis, multiple joint pains in our body, right? Apart from that, it also decreases risk of Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease. And most importantly, guys, it also decreases risk of cancers, various cancers in our body. So that's why this omega-3 fatty acid is very, very important, right? It is very, very important. So that is the some use of this omega-3 fatty acids. You already know it contains 22 carbons and 6 double bonds, right? Now, omega-3 category, the one they are talking about, it is the cervonic acid, right? The cervonic acid. Now, when I say cervonic acid, you already know it is also called as docosahexaenoic acid. Hexaenoic acid, right? Now, it contains 22 carbons and 6 double bonds. So we are talking about this. So DHA is nothing but docosahexaenoic acid. I have already told you this is required for the brain development for the first 2-3 years of life, and breast milk also contains DHA. We have already discussed this, right? The 18 carbons and 3 double bonds, you already know it. We are talking about alpha linolenic acid, right? So you already know it is omega-3 category 3, 20 carbons, and the 5 double bonds, that is again, no, it's not alpha wala part, it is timnodenic acid, right? Yeah, it is timnodenic acid. Timnodenic acid, beta, remember it is also called as icosapentaenoic acid. pentaenoic acid, right? It contains 20 carbons and 5 double bonds. We have already discussed this. Coming on to the next one, that is omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 fatty acids. So guys, you already know. Yes, let us just first try to discuss our own omega-6 fatty acid, and then we'll come to this part also. Omega-6 fatty acids. Now, guys, you already know. Firstly, we have to discuss the examples. We have, yes, GLA, that is, okay, the gamma linolenic acid, the gamma linolenic acid, okay, the linoleic acid, and arachidonic acid, right? Arachidonic acid. Now, you guys already know the arachidonic acid. These are prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Now, when we say prostaglandins, right, you already know they are mediators of inflammation. Okay, they are mediators of inflammation process, right? Apart from that, there is also increases thrombosis. It increases the cardiovascular risk. Right? So that is about over here. Linoleic acid, we have already told you 18 carbons and 2 most essential fatty acids. Yes, already all 3 questions we have discussed previously in the long answer only. Arachidonic acid, they are synthesis for prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Right? So that is about omega-6 fatty acids. Coming on to the next one, guys, what is the difference between omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids? Right. Now, when we say omega-3, guys, you already know these are anti-inflammatory. They decreases the risk of inflammation. Omega-6, basically, they increases risk of inflammation, right? They're pro-inflammatory, right? So, yes. Apart from that, omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, these are also polyunsaturated, right? We have already discussed the 3 important omega-3, that is alpha linoleic acid, timnotenic acid, right? And cervonic acid. Now, it also increases the risk of thrombosis, right? Increases risk of cardiovascular diseases, right? Apart from that, omega-6, the example you already know, gamma linolenic acid. Okay, and we also have, yes, linoleic acid. And along with that, we have arachidonic acid. Now, when we say, now let us first discuss about the cervonic acid, guys. The cervonic acid, okay, the cervonic acid in detail. Now, cervonic acid, this can be again a very short question, guys. The cervonic acid, it is also called as docosahexaenoic acid. Right? You already know it is omega-3 fatty acid. Right? Apart from that, it is from fish oil or breast milk. The source, right? Now, it is needed for infant. Now, when I say infant, up to 1 year of age, right? Or fetal brain development. Again, guys, very, very important question. It is also needed for development of retina. It is also for the development of eye, and which part of the eye it is also, yeah, needed for development of retina. Okay. Now, if let us imagine one scenario over here. If there is decrease in DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, in antenatal period. Now, when I say antenatal means before birth, during the pregnancy, before birth. Antenatal period, if there is decrease in DHA, what it will do? There will be a risk for development of one disorder, risk for development of Very, very important. It is retinitis pigmentosa. Okay, the inflammation, the retina associated disorder, retinitis pigmentosa. Okay. Now, this DHA, why this is very, very important? Because it can pass transplacentally. Transplacentally. You already know we have the placenta. Placenta is providing nutrition to the developing fetus, right? So this DHA, this cervonic acid can easily cross the placenta and can easily reach the fetus and can reach fetal circulation and can reach fetal circulation. That is again very, very, very important. Very, very important, right? So that is why this is very, very important for the development of brain in the fetus. Apart from that, it also helps in the development of the retina. If there is low levels of DHA during the pregnancy period, no, what will happen to the fetus? Fetus will not get the amount, the actual amount of this DHA, and again, there will be a disorder of the retina that is referred to as the retinitis pigmentosa can develop. Now, that is something you have to remember. It controls blood clotting, builds cell membranes in the brain, normal growth development, right? Rheumatoid arthritis, depression, we have already discussed this, right? Apart from that, omega-6 has a role in brain function, the normal growth and development. So that is about the difference between omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Again, a very, very important question from the exam point of view. So we have already discussed today about, yes, the classification of the fatty acids, right, based on the number of carbon chains, short, medium, long. Apart from that, the presence of double bonds, saturated, unsaturated, again, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, right? We have discussed the various sources, the structure, the chemical structure, how they are differentiated, right? Apart from that, we have also discussed about essential fatty acids, right? And one very important clinical correlation, that is the phytoderma or the toad skin, right? Apart from that, we have discussed about the omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids. Again, they are very, very, very important, right? And the differences between them. So that is all about today's lecture. So I hope you all have enjoyed it. Thank you for your patience, for listening me out. And that's about the Auricle app, guys. You can all download it from the Play Store, right? You can follow the various social media handles, right, for the upcoming live classes schedule and the topics. Thank you so much.